Let's bring in James Mathewson, who I'm assured now can hear us. James, thanks so much for joining us. If this was declared by the Prime Minister to the Cabinet Secretary in the proper ways as a minister, does that absolve him of perhaps failing to fully disclose things during a parliamentary hearing, whatever his reason for not doing so was?
Well, I think there's questions to be answered either way, isn't there? Because as you say, and I think it does come back to this point, which has been made already, that it's not a question of procedure and whether that's been done correctly, really. I think it's a question of the British public looking at yet another example of a British Prime Minister who is, frankly, showing, moral flexibility, put it that way, when it comes to issues of finances. We've had this when Rishi Sunak was Chancellor under Boris Johnson, and now we've got it with him as Prime Minister. And I think people will be, switching on their TV sets tonight, watching you, streaming your show and thinking, well, I don't do that. I don't get away with stuff like that in my job. Why should the Prime Minister? And frankly, what kind of person has this level of financial involvement in different companies and different pots of money and different assets all over the place that he can't seem to keep track of them? And I think it just demonstrates yet again how out of touch he is with the rest of the British public.
In terms of what happens from here, James, I mean, clearly there's been an attempt by this new Prime Minister to defer things to independent investigations, whoever this particular investigator might be, wait for that to carry its course, get the answer, and then only act after that. Do you think that is the right approach? Do you think that attempt to make that the norm is working, and will it apply for this particular case when it's an investigation into him?
I think it's kicking the can down the road. I think it's hopefully in his mind. I think it's hopeful, as same happened with Boris Johnson with Partygate. It's just delay and defer. It's trying to give more time for different things to happen. As the famous saying in politics goes, events, dear boy, because nobody knows what's coming around the corner. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, next week. So I think it's that hope that if you buy yourself a little bit of time, if you can increase those margins, then there's the chance that this might go away, something else might come along, or that people will forget about it in due course. And frankly, I think people are fatigued hearing about politicians in general, prime ministers especially, and their financial dealings. They'll just think, oh, it's another story, another example of it. So there's potential that, it will work for him, delaying this and kicking the can down the road.
Samantha, what's your take on that?
I would say that I would be very careful about blaming Rishi Sunak and potentially putting him in the same boat as previous prime ministers, for example, Boris Johnson being the most infamous example of moral flexibility in office. A lot of the delays that we've seen now, particularly with the ministerial register of interest, is a byproduct and a relic of the Johnson era, and the fact that there are 6 months worth of interest that have gone unchecked and unprocessed